Hello, this is Sandy. Welcome to video 1 of my tutorial for this little mini doghouse album that I designed for Country Craft Creations using Authentique's Companions paper collection. Let's get started. Start with one 12 by 12 piece of chipboard and cut it into 3 pieces that are 5 inches by 5 inches, then diagonal cut one of those pieces to create your roof. You'll also need a ring. I'm using a medium size, and also papers from the Companions collection. I have some full sheets left from my previous cat album, and I also have some scraps that I'm going to be using. I've already diagonal cut my chipboard piece here, so you have 2 set one aside that you might want to use later on for another album, and we're only going to need 1 for this little doghouse. You're going to fit this onto one of the squares, and I'm using the art glitter glue that you can order from Country Craft Creations, and just put a line of glue right along the top edge, or one edge of this. It doesn't matter which one because it's a square. Put a good amount of glue and then line it up on your grid and line up the roof as straight as you can and make the eaves on the side, the points on the side, even. So once you have it down as straight as you want it, then burnish it, wipe off any excess glue, and then I'm also going to burnish it with my bone folder and let it dry. So it's that easy to make a little doghouse shape. The back cover will remain square. You could use your second piece if you wanted to, but I just wanted to leave mine square. Next, go ahead and ink the front and back cover chipboard pieces. I'm using a foam dauber and Prima's Color Philosophy black ink that I ordered from countrycraftcreations.com. So put on a good amount of ink on all the cut edges and the sides, each side of the chipboard pieces. Now we are ready to add pattern papers to our covers. For the roof, I'm using a red coordinating cardstock from Authentique that coordinates with the Companions collection. I cut out a square that was just slightly under 5 inches by 5 inches because I'm putting my papers right up to the edge, and then I cut a diagonal cut, and so I'm gluing this onto the roof, and you can use the other piece from the that you cut as a diagonal on the other side. And I have pre-cut all my pattern papers for the front and back of the front cover and the front and back of the back cover, and also go ahead and ink the edges. Go ahead and glue the pattern papers that you inked onto your front and back cover of your album. Again, I'm using the art glitter glue, and this yellow color is one of the coordinating cardstocks that coordinate with the Authentique's Companions paper collection. It is also by Authentique, and you can order it from countrycraftcreations.com. And for the inside of the covers, I'm using this paw print on black hearts. So just line that up, and you see that by cutting it at 4 15/16, it perfectly fits right there on that 5 by 5 square. So I didn't want to leave a large margin. You may want yours to have more of a margin than mine has. And if necessary, ink the edges a little bit more of the chipboard because you do want that to be black. I'm going to go ahead and glue this square onto the back side or the inside of the roof piece. Now put the red roof section of paper down and make sure you've inked the edges. And you do remember you have a ridge there where you attach the little chipboard roof piece onto the square of the doghouse. So you are going to have a ridge there. That's okay. We're going to be covering this with trim. So go ahead and place this on there, and then you will burnish it really well, especially where that ridge is, to make sure that it all sticks down. You will see a little dent or groove there on the edges, and that's okay, so you haven't done anything wrong. Again, we're going to cover that up with some trim. To create the trim for the doghouse, I'm using brown cardstock, the artisan cardstock from Country Craft Creations. You can use any color you choose. You might want to use black, or you could use red, whichever color you want on your doghouse. I've cut these into 1/2-inch strips, and then I angle cut one end to match the roof line, and I'm gluing the first one down. And once that is down, then I go ahead and use the roof as a guide and cut that end piece. So you're going to put this along the base of the roof and then on the 2 peak sides. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up. I've already done the front side, and right now I am working on the back side. To create the door opening for the doghouse, I've taken a scrap of paper, folded it in half, and I'm freehand cutting a little rectangle with a rounded top to use as a pattern to create the door, which will be cut out of black cardstock. I've cut out one pattern, but I think it is too short, so I'm going to cut out another one that's a little bit longer. So I'm just cutting a rounded shape at one end of this rectangle of paper. As soon as I get it cut, I will bring it back into the screen so you can see it. So let me unfold it and then lay this down on your doghouse to see how tall it is. If it's too tall, trim off some from the bottom. So create a door opening the size or the height that you think looks right for your doghouse. Lay your pattern onto some black cardstock and just cut the shape out. And I'm using my scissors to round the top edge just a little bit more to make it more even. And now I'm ready to glue it onto the front of my doghouse. So if it's still too long, just trim off a little bit more. Maybe that first pattern would have been okay, but I'd rather have more than not enough at first. So this ends up being about, let's see, about 2.5 inches by 1.5. So that's about the size of your door. And so I'm going to go ahead and glue it on. So there's the covers of the album patterned with the Companions paper collection from Authentique. I'm just lining it up to see how it looks with these trim. Okay, so now I'm ready to punch the hole in the cover for my ring, so I'm using my little clips to hold it together to make sure it stays lined up right. And I'm using my Crop-A-Doll in the largest hole, and I'm going to punch one hole just below the roof line onto the square part of the doghouse. So I got mine a little bit too close to the edge. I would like for you to put yours just a little bit further, like maybe a 1/4 inch from the edge, to make sure that none of your pages tear out. Go ahead and punch your hole, and now your ring will go through the covers, and then we'll be ready to do just a little bit on the doghouse cover, and then we'll be ready to do our pages. We do need to add some trim strips to the around the doghouse door. So I've cut real narrow strips of red cardstock, and I'm using the paper pattern to round the top edges of these little strips. So they're probably about a 1/4 inch or less, and I'm just laying them out. And like I said, lay the strips along the pattern, rounded pattern door shape that you cut, and just round the top little edges of your paper strips. So you want 2 for the sides, and I think we'll end up needing to cut 2 for the top to get that rounded look on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and do this in a speeded up video, and then we'll go ahead and glue these onto the door opening of the doghouse. I ended up using 3 little strips across the top for the rounded part to get that top edge covered. So I'm just trimming a little bit on one end here of the center one, and so that, just piece it together, covers that top little edge. And then when you're done, trim the bottoms off where they're sticking out beyond the cover. So there's the door with the door frame. To create the pages, cut 5 out of black cardstock that are 4 7/8 inches by 4 7/8 inches, and 2 that are 3 inches by 4 7/8 inches. And all you need to do is cut these out, and then take the back cover and line these up with the hole on the back cover, and punch with your Crop-A-Doll all through each page so that you have a hole to attach it to the ring. And if you plan to punch several out at one time, use your clips to hold them together, line them up, keep them straight, clip the back cover onto the pages, and punch through all of them, but make sure you use a clip to hold them into place so that all the holes will be lined up correctly. I decided I wanted a wood grain look onto the trim on the doghouse, so I'm taking my ruler and just lining it up on the brown trim, and I'm taking a stylus and just scoring little lines. They don't have to be perfect, they don't have to all be straight, some can be short, some can be long, lines along the length of each of the trim pieces on the doghouse. This gives it more of a wood grain look. This is optional, and I did it to the front and the back. To pattern the pages in your album, select the patterns of papers you like from the Companions collection. If you have scraps, check those. You will need to cut 10 that are 4 1/4 inches wide by 4 1/4 inches tall, and then you will need 4 that are 2 1/4 inches wide by 4 1/4 inches tall. So cut these all out, ink the edges, and then go ahead and glue them onto the front and back of each of your pages. Once you have added pattern paper to all your pages, you can go ahead and put them inside your album cover onto the ring. And this concludes video tutorial number 1 for the Doghouse Mini album. In my next video, I will get that up in the next couple of days. I will show you some decorating tips that I did. It will not be a step-by-step tutorial, but I will share what I did on each page. So thanks so much for watching, and be sure to shop at countrycraftcreations.com. Bye-bye.